Something is in the air.
When I look to leave her, I always stagger back again.
There are so many secrets about this band and this crew.
But the music is good. And you meet some great people.
You know, at a certain point in your life, you need structure.
It's my opinion that in life you need two things to survive: oxygen and family.
Hey guys,
Carla, thank you so much for being here. I'm such a fan.
so happy to be here. Thank you so much. Likewise.
And talking in the green room, I mean, outside of being on the show, you are also a huge fan of music. You love music. You have a great knowledge of it.
Thank you. I really do love music. I kind of think music is the pulse of life. I mean, it's the thing that connects us. It's the thing that takes you. You hear a song and you're somewhere immediately. You know, it takes you back. It's the music. I make playlists for my characters. I mean, I do. I'm a big music lover.
So you make playlists for your characters sort of before you even got into this show. Now, Cameron is famous for making his own playlists for his characters in the show. Did your playlist and his ever conflict in your thoughts about the character?
No, interestingly, actually. We were able to introduce each other to music, which is pretty cool. And if you can introduce Cameron Crowe to something he doesn't know, it's like, you know, you feel like you've won the lottery.
May I ask, what did you introduce him to?
You know, it's funny. There have been a few things. Cat Power did a really amazing cover of Creedence Clearwater's Fortunate Son that he hadn't heard. That's really amazing.
That's her covers album, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Great album.
But it's not on covers. No,
it's not on her covers.
No, it's the most recent album, actually, but the covers album I love so much. That Satisfaction, there's so many great things on there. There's a band called Say Hi that's from the Pacific Northwest, and they're super cool. And I thought, since he's from there, I was like, well, you must really like Say Hi. He's like, I don't know them. And now he's a big fan. So, you know, there's been some really fun ones.
That's the best way to introduce someone to a band, like not being condescending, but kind of being, oh, you must love, if you're from Pacific Northwest and you like music, you must love this band. Oh, you've never heard of them?
No, I know, no, it didn't, thankfully it didn't come off that way, and I didn't mean it that way, but I hear what you're saying.
I'm working with Cameron Crowe. You know, for those of you who don't know, I mean, I'm sure a lot of you know what the movie Almost Famous was inspired by his story.
Yeah.
As a 16-year-old, as a teenager, we were talking about this as well. He was a journalist for Rolling Stone and other magazines covering rock bands like Skynyrd, rock and roll stars like David Bowie.
Right, Pearl Jam.
So when you're on this show, do you just want to try to hear these stories from Cameron Crowe? Do you try to pull him away from the camera and be like, tell me another story about that time?
He has so many great stories, and he is a master storyteller because he's also a journalist. And you know, and the other thing about him is he's the most humble person. So he will come out with this. He's like, oh yeah, no, when I was with Bowie for like 3 weeks, and you're like, wait, hold on, you need to go back. You know, I mean, every story is like that. But it's all very, you know, he is this sort of, I think that's one of the most amazing things about this show and doing this show with him is that there is no one who is as qualified as he is to tell these stories. Because not only was he a journalist, and is he, you know, he always says once a journalist, always a journalist, which is probably very true. He's a huge rock and roll fan. Obviously, if you go back to, I mean, the fact that now he is also an amazing writer and director, he has all the tools to bring this show to life and make it really fun on set every day. So the stories just keep coming, and actually every story in Roadies was from a true story of some, you know, friend of his, or if he didn't experience it directly.
Now, Cameron Crowe as a writer, I think Roger Ebert had said this about him maybe after Say Anything or after Jerry Maguire, which is that this is not the dialogue that people actually speak, it's the way we wish people spoke all the time. And Cameron Crowe at his best is a true romantic. The dialogue is just absolutely romantic. But I'm curious, as an actor, what are the challenges in doing dialogue like that? Or is it not a challenge at all? Is it just sort of wondrous to be able to attack it?
It's pretty wondrous. I mean, I have to say, I think on a TV schedule, it's a little bit more challenging just because just sheerly memorizing, you know, he'll write great speeches. But the incredible thing is a badly written line, one line, can be impossible to remember. And you can have 20 beautifully written lines that go in like, you know, in a second. It's really an incredible thing. So for me, his dialogue is like music, and it's so fun to play with. And you know when you hit those rhythms just right that it's like that perfect match. So so for me, it's pretty great because it does come from such a place of humanity. None of it ever feels forced, and yet it is slightly heightened from reality, which I love.
Would you say, I mean, just to get in the weeds about acting just a little bit, would you say that a badly written line is hard to remember because there's very little intention to a badly written line? Like it's not connected to everything?
Yeah.
Doesn't sort of latch onto the brain as well?
I think that's a really good way of putting it. I think that your mind, you know, our minds aren't linear, and we go from thought to thought in different, you know, different ways. Like I might look at your white shirt and it reminds me of somebody, and then, oh, I have to tell you that thing about that person, you know, or sort of, our minds are very circuitous in that way. And so somehow when someone, I think, is writing from a place of instinct, which he does, the thoughts actually come to you as they should. So there's a, you know, oftentimes you'll have, and sometimes, you know, you might be doing I do theater as well, and, you know, I did a Eugene O'Neill play called Desire Under the Elms, which is it's not naturalistic at all, and the dialogue is really tricky. But once you find the thought patterns, again, it falls into place. So I think that the intention is huge in terms of just memorizing.
How similar did you find the sort of life of Roadies to the kind of life of a film crew?
So similar.
It's very, very, very similar,
Yeah,
right?
it is really an amazing thing. Also, I think because we were doing a show about crew, our crew, I always feel like, you know, I am the crew anyway. We're all in this together, and we're all, you know, it's one of the things I love about movies is when you look at the end credits, you couldn't make what you made without every single one of those people. And in this case, there were so many lines that were blurred in that way, in such a cool way. Cameron actually had a really interesting thought about that at the beginning, though, which is I think one differentiation is, you know, working on a crew on a film set or television set, you often have many fans of film. You have people who own the Criterion Collection who are total geeks, but you also have people who are just coming in with, you know, doing their job really well and don't care that much about what's necessarily on camera. And
tell me how to light it, or tell me where to move the light, and I'll move it, and then I'm going to be hanging out in the truck until you need me to move
and
the
they
light
do
again.
a great job at what they're doing, and it's fantastic. But what I think that the difference is that a crew for a band, that Roadies for a band, the band is their God. They are there to serve that band 100%. Most of them are musicians or music fans, and you know, and I love the idea that they're, you know, I play the production manager, and the only time that I should ever be talked about as that character is if I've done something wrong. I mean, really, if you do your job right, you're wearing black, no one sees you, and the glory goes to the band. And I love that sort of selflessness too.
But I found that with your character, the show has in a certain way embraced and talked about you more as the season has progressed. I think in the beginning, I wouldn't say you were in the shadow of Luke Wilson's character, but you were kind of helping him along a bit more. And I would say about halfway through the season, it's kind of switched, and you're kind of the de facto strong leader, the sort of female leader of this group.
Yeah, I think that they balance each other as characters very well. When I was doing research, I was trying to figure out the difference between a tour manager and a production manager, and exactly what differences they have. And it was funny because as I started to sort of understand those jobs, I said to Cameron, we kind of do a little bit of both of those jobs. And we sort of decided that, you know, this is a team because they work so well together, obviously dangerously so for her personal life and the fact that she's married, but that we sort of take on from each other. And I do think you're right. I think that Shelley has sort of, my character has started to kind of come into her own as she's coming into her truth as well. That's reflected in the storytelling.
Now, I have to ask, before you came in, I was doing a little research, and this isn't your first foray into rock and roll. You were in a very famous, I think, Bon Jovi music video with Carrie Russell is in this video?
Yes.
And then two men who I only recognize from maybe mid-90s soap operas. I don't remember their names.
Well, it's funny, Jack Noseworthy being one who looks a lot like John Bon Jovi, by the way.
That's true.
Yes. Yeah, we did this, it was a music video for Always. It was huge at the time. I did not think of myself as being in a music video, but I had done a movie called The Son-in-Law with Pauly Shore.
Oh, I'm going to get to that. But I'm glad you brought it up first, because I don't look that bad now.
And Marty Callner, who was the director of that music video, had just done a video for an Aerosmith video with Liv Tyler and Alicia Silverstone. Remember the one, pumping the gas?
Sorry, it's Crazy.
Yes.
Yes. There's Crying, Crazy, and Amazing. Those were the three Get a Grip and Living on an Edge.
I think it was crazy.
And it's
right?
crazy
Yes.
with Liv Tyler.
And he had directed that, and it was sort of the first in the breed of sort of movie music videos.
Oh, like the music videos that were like, we have a budget.
We have a budget. We have a big budget. We have a story-ish. And yes, I played the bad girl. I did like some chair straddling and some hat twirling, and yeah, it was fun
You
times.
get painted.
Yes.
At one point,
Yes,
you get your portrait painted by another beautiful 90s television
I did
show.
forget about that. I did forget about that, yes. So yeah, I was early on. And people still, I mean, that people come up to me about that video still, if you can believe it. I am completely serious.
Like me, people like me.
Exactly.
So you mentioned Son-in-Law really fast. That was another thing that I came across. And there was this period of time, I almost have to ask anybody who was in one of those early Pauly Shore
Right.
movies, because there's such a strange period of time in the 90s where they were massively successful.
Huge, yeah.
Hugely
yeah.
successful, and also, you know, like mostly hugely successful movies, critically despised and sort of mocked a little bit. But you were in Son-in-Law was kind of the first one.
You know, it's
well,
funny.
Encino Man, then Son-in-Law.
Exactly. You know what's funny is that it wasn't at all what I imagined myself doing. I ended up then kind of having this real fondness for that character and had a great time working with Pauly. And it was interesting because I had done that, and then I did this Boy's Life with Robert De Niro.
That's a great movie.
I love that movie so much.
Great book, too.
It is a great book. Yeah, Tobias Wolff, so good. And Leo DiCaprio and Ellen Barkin, and it was just a great. But it was interesting because I did them around the same time, and But what was fascinating is being with Robert De Niro, who I've since worked with. Again, nobody really came up to him because people were really intimidated, and he was Robert De Niro, and you know. Whereas Pauly Shore was massively famous at the time, and everybody was his friend. I mean, everybody came up and quoted from his movies, quoted from his stand-up, and it was so fascinating to see that kind of different persona because it was also a different time. I mean, social media wasn't what it is now, and there wasn't that sort of familiarity with celebrities in the same way. And so it was fascinating to watch two different kinds of actors and how the response was from the public. You know, I think, you know, for me, I've always considered myself sort of a more transformational actor. That's been more my interest, is to disappear into different characters and never be known for one thing. But, you know, Pauly really, at that moment, did tap into something and is a very funny guy and a very good guy. And it was
Squeezing the juice.
I mean, you can remember the quote. I mean, and you know, and I mean, The Son-in-Law was like the ultimate, you know, stoner college movie. I mean, you know, it was like.
Well, you mentioned This Boy's Life, and that did make me think of that's such a powerful movie.
Yeah, it really
and that did introduce, with the exception of Growing Pains, Leonardo DiCaprio to the world. What was it like working with him at that time? I mean, were you kind of? I remember the story was that Robert De Niro worked with him on that, and then said to Scorsese, like immediately, you got to follow this kid. Apparently,
I think that's absolutely true. You know, he was wonderful. I mean, we were both kids. I mean, he was literally riding his dirt bike on set, and it was a time where somehow Michael Caton-Jones, our director, like it was a kind of a serious set on some levels. I guess the subject matter is, but he was great. I mean, he was, you know, wonderful and natural. I think the key thing about Leo, which I find extraordinary, considering the amount of success that he's had, is he has always remained true to who he was when I first met him. He believes in what he believes in. He stands up for it. You know, he's all about the environment, making the world a better place, and he is fundamentally a character actor who's become a movie star, but remained, you know, true to
transformational acting, the same way that you have.
Absolutely. I mean, he is really, and I find that to be, you know, very rare and really noticeable.
Have you ever found for yourself that as you've made your way through the business, for lack of a better term, that sort of latching onto the ideals that you once held on to at a very early age or when you first got into the business was more difficult than you expected it to be?
You know, it's funny.
Because you've also kind of always jumped into small movies as well as big movies. You seem to always be less interested in the sort of the like always doing a San Andreas type of movie, and then doing very small movies with your partner Sebastian Gutierrez.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
The two of you made 3 or 4 like pretty small independent films, right?
We've made some medium budget ones, some teeny ones, and those are really fun too, with amazing actors. And yeah, I think for me, acting is the love of my life. I really love it so much. I've been doing it since I was 13, and I love it now more than ever, maybe, So for me, it's just really about the gamut, and by the time I'm at the end of my life, I want to have played everything I could. But I guess what I would say is that, I think I could have become much more famous earlier on if I had chosen different projects, and it was really clear to me that I didn't want to brand myself per se, or to, for me, my journey was about just growing into the actor that I wanted to be. And so even when I was an ingenue, I didn't feel like one. So interestingly enough, now at this point in my life and my career, I feel like it's sort of the best time. And there's still a lot ahead of me, but part of it is what confused people, playing the lesbian parole officer in Sin City and the Mom and Spy Kids, for example, or things where like, that's the same person? Like, what? I played the Mom and Spy Kids when I was 27. It was physically impossible. I mean, I'm the right age right now to play the Mom and Spy Kids. But Robert said, Robert Rodriguez was like, if we do it right, no one will question it, and nobody did. So for a period of time, people thought I was older than I was. I mean, there were so many, sort of things, which is fascinating, and so,
Well, I think what's fascinating about that, sorry to interrupt,
Yeah.
I mean, it brings up the age-old question of ageism in Hollywood and women.
Right.
Like, you're 27, and people are thinking that you're older. As an actress, did you find that impeded upon your progress as an actress and casting decisions?
No, for sure. It was really challenging because then I was being asked to play opposite men who were much older than me. I mean, there was sort of all sorts of elements.
Well, that's nothing new for young actresses in
No,
Hollywood.
no,
Look at the James Bond series.
I like to say only in Hollywood did I play Robert De Niro's daughter in This Boy's Life, and his lover in another movie. So
Righteous Kill, right?
Righteous Kill, yes, with he and Al Pacino. We had an amazing time, and I was his younger lover, but still. No, and I love working with him so much. But that only happens in Hollywood. But yes, so basically, I do feel that finally what's confused people has become a body of work. And that, to me, is sort of what I've always wanted. So,
And kind of led you to Roadies. Like, I don't think you would necessarily be cast on a part like Roadies if you hadn't have done a number of the parts that you've done before, in terms of just playing extremely strong women. Strong, capable, tough women.
thank you. Yeah, no, I do. It's funny because roles that I've done in say, Entourage or Californication, or, who are women who are really, really strong in the business place and very much in a man's world, and really hold their own. It's funny because it's something that people have assumed then is my personality or something, and they're very different from me. And I've done a lot of sort of vulnerable characters in different ways as well. But there is something about those women. Shelley is different from them, but they are they're like cousins in a way.
You said that you love acting, that it's kind of like the love of your life. I'm going to ask you a kind of corny question. What do you think you love most about acting? Because in a lot of ways, acting on the stage is one thing. You're lost in that character for an extended period of time, an hour and a half, 3 hours that you're doing it. On screen in a show, the time that you're actually lost in that character can be somewhat minimal.
Yeah.
How do you sort of continuously find that love on a 16-hour day?
I'll give you a corny answer, but it's the truth.
Let's get corny.
Let's just get corny up here. No, is that, I feel like the reason that any of us are here on this planet, like, life is about gaining empathy. And for me, one of the key elements of acting is seeing life through different characters' eyes, a different person's eyes, right? And it's the way that I think we understand other people. So one of my favorite things is to research where someone's from, research what their interests might be, start to sort of see life through their eyes. And I think that, therefore, every character is fascinating because of that. As a kid, I had a very unusual childhood. I moved a lot. I was sort of a controlling kid. I was like a straight A student, and I'm much more of a kid now than I was when I was a kid. And I think part of the thing that I love about acting too is the ability to lose control in a controlled environment. So, I'm pretty fearless as an actor in ways that I may or may not be as a human being. Like, a horse fell on me when I was a kid, for example. You'll probably never get me on a horse again unless I have to do it for a role, and then I'm on that horse tomorrow. It's just the nature of the beast.
There's a certain kind of catharsis to doing all the things that you wouldn't normally do, but doing them in the shoes of another person
For sure.
who might do them.
For sure. Weird.
It goes back to, I think, Roger Ebert once again. Sorry, I don't refer to him that much. But he referred to movies as the great empathy machine.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what you're referring to as well in terms of acting.
I miss Roger Ebert.
So do I.
Yeah, that guy was really incredible in terms of, we had Pauline Kael. We just don't have a lot of critics who really love movies and are extremely knowledgeable.
We don't have a household name for a critic anymore that much.
Yeah.
So either, I mean, there's great critics like A.O. Scott, Manola Dargis. Like, there's a lot of really great critics, but we don't have a household name as a critic anymore. He did a
Someone
really great
you go
job.
to that you trust for,
Thumbs up,
Exactly.
So this weekend is the finale, this season's finale of Roadies, and you have an amazing roster of musicians.
We really do.
Rock stars appearing on it. Eddie Vedder, right?
Yeah.
Can you give us a taste of what Eddie Vedder might be doing as an actor?
Well, I will say.
I don't think we've seen him act in anything maybe since Singles. Didn't he have a small part in Singles, or did I make that up?
That's a
I think he might have had a small part in Cameron Crowe's
Crowe's
Singles.
I think you might be right. Oh God, Cameron's gonna have to tell us.
Or Cameron's gonna be like, "Who told you that?
I have to
He's
revisit.
not in it."
No, I will say nothing other than he is. He adds something really, really wonderful to the show. And interestingly enough, the day he shot was the last day we were shooting. Wow. It was also Cameron's birthday, and he sang him happy birthday. And they've known each other for so long, so there's nothing like much cooler than witnessing that.
Have you figured out who the Staten House Band might actually be at this point, or kind of represent? Because my theory is that it's Wilco.
Well, it's so funny you say that, because I love Wilco, and I think there's elements of Wilco. There's a little Black Keys in there. There's a little, like early Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Right. If they were sort of right now, there's a little The National in terms of it being a very Americana band that's still filling some stadiums.
That's kind of why I went for Wilco. I was thinking of an Americana band that has a long track record of songs but The National is that as well, where people would be like, why aren't you playing that big song tonight?
Exactly.
Like I imagine like She's a Jar and Wilco, and they might not be playing that as much or something like that. But The National also makes sense.
Yeah. And you know what I also love about the way that Cameron set up the show is that the Staten House Band, obviously, we're sort of looking at the influences of who they are, but the fact that we have to sort of replace our opening band consistently because we've been having problems this tour allows us to have all of these great young artists. I mean, Gary Clark Jr. is also in our finale. I mean, it's really, it's really amazing. And we got these private concerts on set. I've never seen more people in a crew or a cast on set when they weren't shooting on anything I've ever done.
Well, Lindsey Buckingham, episode 3.
I know. I mean,
incredible.
I was like, I'm wrapped, but I'm staying.
Why wouldn't you stay?
Exactly.
Yeah, I feel like if I was Cameron Crowe running that show and one of my actors left when Lindsey Buckingham was going to play, I'd be like, we're probably going to write you off the show.
Exactly. You'd be like, I don't trust you.
You clearly don't appreciate what I've created for you here.
Exactly.
Let's open it up to the audience for questions. Who has questions out there?
Hey, Carla, thank you for being here. If you were a roadie in real life, which band would you work for?
Oh, it's such a good question. And you want me to, like, alive or dead, or they have to be playing right now?
Let's do dead. Let's do one dead, one alive.
Okay. I would go with only one. That's so hard. But maybe, maybe the Kinks. I'd be really curious to have toured with.
Great pick.
So that's what I mean, how do you not do the Beatles or David Bowie? But okay.
No, but the Kinks is a great pick because they're in between. They're like somewhere in between, the Beatles and the Stones.
And I don't feel like they got the credit they deserve. So I'd be interested in seeing what. Anyway, and then alive. I mean, it's so crazy that Bowie's not with us anymore. I still feel like that counts, but. That's a tough one because, like, I'm a huge Sleater Kinney fan, but they have that would be a very small tour.
You immediately imagine yourself as the outsider trying to break in with that crew?
I'm like, could I be in the band, but I don't play anything? No.
Like in your fantasy, you don't even imagine yourself as a part of the actual crew.
Totally. You know what? Maybe I'd go with Wilco, actually. That might be who, I'm a huge Wilco fan, so.
Wow, that's awesome. Next question.
Spoon. Oh, God.
Spoon is a good one.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
I just wanted to know your opinion on different roles for women in Hollywood and how has the roles that are presented to you changed since you started working?
That is a really interesting question because I've really seen a significant difference, which is interesting. When I started acting, when I was in my I mean, I started when I was 13, but when I was in my early 20s, I felt like I couldn't wait to turn 30 to get actually a role that felt representative to me of the complexity of women. And now I do feel like we're in a time where we do have, you know, Shailene Woodley, we have, I mean, we have so many, Jennifer Lawrence, we have so many great young actors.
Imogen Poots.
Imogen Poots, who is extraordinary in this show and everything. I was a huge fan of Imogen's before we even worked together. I mean, so many wonderful, wonderful young actors who are actually getting great roles to play. Like, the roles are being written for them. They're being well paid. People are going to the movies to see them, as they should. I mean, I've never been like a chick flick person per se. I just want to see great movies, and I want those great movies to have women in them as well, as they did in the 1950s. I mean, you know, the 1950s and 60s, we had great women, you know, leading the charge and fantastic movies being made by amazing directors. So that's a real plus to me. You know, I think there is always, as we were talking about, like ageism in Hollywood, I still feel like television is a much better place for women my age and older. You know, films are in the theaters right now. I feel like we have to get back to, you know, the movies that were really successful in the 60s and 70s were what we would consider art house movies now, but they were still doing really great at the box office. So I would say I'm heartened. I think still the more women who can start writing and directing, the more we will have those roles. I mean, Sebastian Gutierrez, my boyfriend who we were speaking about, who's an amazing screenwriter and director, he writes great female roles. Cameron writes really wonderful female roles. I mean, you can, you know, my friend Zal Batmanglitch is doing, they're doing, he and Britt Marling, our writing team, they just did a show for Netflix that's going to come out that I think is going to be amazing. And they write together, and her character, I think, will be really strong in that. And in any case, I really do think it's moving in the right direction, but it's slower than I'd like it to be.
Can I just say my two bands that I'd roadie with really fast? Sorry, I thought of it while we
yes,
were talking.
please.
I couldn't help but think about it.
Yeah.
New Order in 84, 85 era
Nice.
New Order, and Run the Jewels now.
Oh, wow.
I would go with Killer Mike and LP on the road and just
Love it.
learn how to smoke pot again and hang out with them for 2 years. Next question.
Hey, I just want to say Eddie Vedder and Pearl Jam did have a cameo in Singles.
Nice.
But I was just wondering, Carla, you've done so many different roles. Was there any like that was really difficult for you, or that you had to really research hard, like to get into the character?
Yeah, there have been a lot of different challenges with different projects. You know, I'm going to pick two that are kind of seemingly random because they wouldn't be what you would think might be hard work. But I did a movie called Sucker Punch with Zack Snyder, and thank you. I love that movie, and I hear rumors of a potential director's cut at some point soon. But that role, she was not initially Polish, but the way that character was coming together, we felt that there was like an Eastern European, she just had to have a different mentality, and American just didn't make sense in that role. And so we started having some conversations about that. And so that role really was something that was sort of, the seeds of it were written by Zach so beautifully, and then he really allowed both Oscar Isaac and I to really collaborate on the creation of those characters. And so that was really interesting, and just sort of researching that part of the world, and then where her accent would be coming from, and should it be Russian or Polish, and we decided on Polish, and there were, you know, sort of a number of things. So that was really challenging in a really fun way. Also, I'm not trained as a singer or a dancer, whereas Oscar actually is, as you've seen in roles, you know, after that with him. So that whole musical number that we did of Love is the Drug was really hard for me, and then ultimately really fun and really freeing, because it's always better to do something you're not sure if you're going to be able to pull off, and that was one of those, and then have it actually come together, which that you can see in its entirety actually on YouTube, but it was in the movie, it's sort of more in the title sequence. And then San Andreas was really interesting, oddly, because it wasn't from a sort of emotional or an acting standpoint that it was challenging, as much as I did every stunt they would let me do on that movie, which was a lot of them. And I might have even ended up doing more stunts than Dwayne, which I don't think I'll ever be able to say again. But that was really challenging physically, just because you know, the stunt guys at the end came up and they were like, I don't think any woman has ever let us throw them around like this. And I was like, I'm not sure if that's a compliment or not, but we did have a really great time, and it was physically very challenging.
And that was your third or fourth time working with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, right?
Yes, third time.
Third time.
Yeah.
So you guys clearly have a good time working together.
We really do. I love that man. He is.
Who doesn't?
I know. But the truth is, he is so genuinely everything that you think he is who he is. He's super true to who, you know. He's also like for being incredibly successful, super talented, all of those things. He is also a genuinely humble human being. And I think that's what I'm just most interested in these days, is working with people who aren't coming from a place of ego and who just want to make the best thing they can make, and he is representative of that in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. I think we have time for one more question.
Hi, thanks for being here.
So glad to be here.
I'm a really big fan, and your work is so impressive because it's so diverse, as you were talking about, and you played so many different roles. So I'm curious about your process of picking your projects.
Thank you for that. So kind. You know, it's definitely instinct. I realize that, I guess for me, sometimes I'll do a role because I love the character so much, even if I don't know what that filmmaker is going to be like. Sometimes I will love a filmmaker so much that the role isn't quite there on the page yet, but I have the confidence that we're going to be able to find it by the time it hits the screen. And oftentimes it's just a thing of needing to play the opposite of what I've just done. Like, you know, I maybe will do a sort of a classic play on Broadway and then feel like, okay, now I want to do something super modern. But really, it does come from, I'm not good at thinking theoretically. Like, I'm not great at going, oh, this is the kind of thing I would like to do. I might have a sense of something that I'm craving, but it's when I see it on the page that I think, and I always have to, if I know exactly how to play the role, I feel like I should let someone else do it. Like, there always has to be an element for me of, ooh, I feel connected to that, but I'm not sure exactly how to play her yet. Because I think you have to leave room for a little bit of magic. So I would say those are the things that, you know, there's a really beautiful movie called Wolves that I did with Bart Freundlich that he wrote and directed with Michael Shannon.
Love the Shannon.
I know, so great. And a great young actor, Taylor Smith, who's just so good. But I really, that one was one that came sort of out of the blue, and I fell in love with the story that it was telling, even more so than the character, and the fact that Michael was in it. I was so excited to do that with him. And then I ended up falling in love with this woman that I was playing you know, like sort of in the process of finding her, so yeah.
I think I have to let you go, but I have so many questions about working with Nicolas Cage on Snake Eyes, but I have to let you go. Roadies, the season 1 finale is this weekend, right?
Sunday night, 10 o'clock on Showtime.
And there are so many appearances by amazing musicians.
Yeah.
We only mentioned Eddie Vedder, but I think Robin Hitchcock,
Gary Clark Jr., oh my God, so many great people.
It's going to be an incredible episode.
Yeah.
Carla, thank you so much for being here. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.